Hello, my name's Andy and I'm part of the Mountain Rescue in Swaledale, and we're here to talk to Stuart, who I know very well, about what you do, your business, and how your business came to be as successful and amazing as it is. Tell us about your business, please, Stuart.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm Stuart Price from Dales Bike Centre. So we're based in Framington in Swaledale, and we've been open here now for 12 years. And we've seen quite a lot of interesting times in those 12 years. It started back in 1996. So I was working and living at the youth hostel at Grinton at the time, and I decided that mountain bike hire would be a good way to earn a few extra pennies. But we worked out pretty quickly that hiring bikes out of ones or twos wasn't going to make me much money, to be blunt. So we started taking groups out, organised groups. So then I started doing mountain bike qualifications and started taking groups mountain biking.
Yeah.
So school groups, colleges, corporate events, military groups, all sorts really.
How did you get your name and reputation around?
Just being noisy. I mean, I remember setting up my first website in 1997, and it was one page, and I was really, really excited.
Yeah.
And now it's about 80 odd pages.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, it just takes time. It just takes time. You know, with more and more bikes, more and more bookings, taking groups out more often. But what I found was I got a bit frustrated in the late 90s, kind of early 2000s. We were organising guided biking weekends and skills courses, and we got a bit frustrated because we couldn't quite get the accommodation that we were looking for, and it was we just could see demand. We used to go riding to trail centres, mountain bike trail centres around the country that really was set up. And we thought, we need to do something like this in Swaledale. It's such a great area for mountain biking.
It is.
What happened was, the Yorkshire Dales National Park, they did a cycle tourism strategy document. So within that cycle tourism strategy document, Swaledale was identified as a perfect honey spot venue, if you like, for road cycling and for mountain biking. And they identified that a cycle hire, a cafe, bike shop, and maybe even accommodation would make the business viable. So off the back of that, we thought we have to do it. So this is me. When I say we, I mean me and my wife Brenda. We spent a little bit of time trying to work out where this venue should be, and we decided it had to be this side of Reeth, and this was the building that we wanted. And it took 2 years to convince the landowner to sell the building and a bit of land, and then it took another 2.5 years to convince the national park to give a planning permission to build a bike centre, and then it took another 1.5 years to sort out the money, and then about a year to build. So
very patient and determined, isn't it? Really. Well, tell us about your typical people that come and use either the bikes or the cafe.
Well, it's interesting because in the early days it was really very keen, hardened mountain bikers and road cyclists. That's what it was in the early days. You know, it was pretty quiet when we first opened, and then gradually over the years it's picked up and picked up. That was the year.
Tell us about 2012.
We saw a change. 2012 was the year that Bradley Wiggins won the Tour de France and got a gold medal in the Olympics. And that year, road cycling went absolutely bananas. Road cycling became massive, and that was the year we saw a huge jump in the amount of people that we saw cycling, road cycling, and just cycling in general. And from since then, it's just progressively, got busier and busier. And then, obviously in 2014, we had the Tour de France come through, and that came right past the door here, and that was just an immense year. That was just unreal.
It was amazing, wasn't it? I watched it in where I live in Gunnerside. Couldn't believe how quickly they came through. I couldn't drive a car as quickly as that.
Yeah.
So coming down here must have been amazing.
Well, I mean, it just absolutely flew past the bike centre. Yeah, I just, like you, I couldn't believe how fast they were going, and I so wish I was up on the moor, on Grinton Moor. It would have been amazing up there, but I had to work because we had about 2,000 people camping here that weekend. For quite a few years, we've been running or hosting mountain biking events, smallish. Cross-country racing type events where the event centre would be here, the lap would be up on Fremington Edge. It was Joe and Alex Rafferty and Joe's wife Kelly. They approached her about setting up an enduro mountain bike event. So an enduro is basically a big ride out with a number of timed downhill sections. And they suggested that Swaledale would be a really good venue for an event. And we totally agreed. So we started helping Joe and Alex and Kelly organising this event. And I think the first year there was only about 250 riders. And it was a great event. It was all, the whole event was within our grounds here. There was 3 trade stalls, I think. And it was great. It was really, really good. And it chucked down the rain most of the weekend.
That's good Yorkshire weather.
Yeah, good Yorkshire weather. Yeah, the band on the Saturday night nearly electrocuted themselves. It was raining that hard. So yeah, it was quite a weekend. But it went down really well. From an event with 250 riders up to an event with something like about 4,000 riders over the weekend, over a number of disciplines.
Yeah.
But it's last year, 2019. We were all getting excited, and we'd spent quite a lot of time getting our part of our little corner of the Ardrock kind of ready. And then the Ardrock team, they were getting prepped and getting ready. They'd spent months on the tracks and trails, getting it organised, months and months, just doing all the background admin and work that goes into it. And then they'd been here about 3 days setting up the event, and then 2 days before the first riders were due to arrive, Swaledale and Artengothdale got hit by an unreal, once in 100 years storm, so we got flooded. So we ended up where we are standing or sitting now. We ended up would have been under about 1 metre of water here, with a 3-foot, 4-foot deep river running down the road for about 5 hours. It was that day.
It was on the national news, wasn't it? For
days.
Days.
All over national news. Yeah.
Unbelievable amount of rain. Water came down the Arkle just next to your grounds.
Yeah. So it put down 3 road bridges around here. I don't know how many footpath and bridleway bridges it wiped out. Wiped out a lot of the course that the guys had been working on, as well as all the businesses and all the houses that got flooded in the Dale. It was a big disaster. So yeah, I remember the following morning after the flooding event, if you like, coming down, just looking at an absolute disaster zone, thinking, oh my God. But it was just incredible the amount of help that just turned up. By 10 o'clock in the morning, well, even earlier, I guess, there was an army of people just turned up here and helped to clean up. I must have had 20 people turn up that morning and help start clearing up. It was amazing. It was quite humbling, actually.
It's a fantastic community, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But people came from far and wide. We had one guy that I'd never met before, turned up from Wetherby and just said that he'd seen it on the news and just thought, I've got time, I've got a shovel and I've got a brush. He turned up and he helped clear up. And people like that I'm indebted to for forever, really.
Tell us about what it's like being a really important part of the community and how you feel about that.
It's good, but I think we just play our little part in that we facilitate it, if you like. The biggest player in this whole operation is the customers and the cyclists and people that walk through the door. And it's always great when we've had busy days, because we've seen so many people. Yes, it's good for the till, which is good for when it comes around to winter time and we've got to pay the staff and there's hardly anybody been through the door. But day in, day out, you know, we're just meeting really nice people, great conversations, and helping people, you know, make the most of their time in the Dale, whether they're from 5 miles down the road or from the other end of the country.